Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to another video on the Gooners and Gloves Podcast channel. In today's video, it's going to be the 110th Gooners and Gloves Podcast, and I'm going to be giving you guys my thoughts and predictions for the Canelo versus Crawford fight. This is taking place Saturday night in Las Vegas for the undisputed super middleweight world championship. Obviously, I mean, what words can I even use to describe this event? I mean, this is more than just a big fight. This is really what you could call a super fight. It's absolutely generational. It's huge, and I just cannot wait to watch this. And yeah, this is definitely a super fight and an absolutely generational event, and I just cannot wait to be, to watch this live and to see this happen firsthand. I just cannot wait. I'm so excited, and of course absolutely buzzing to be back and to be giving you guys my predictions for this fight. Obviously, it feels really good to be back on the channel after the international break. Obviously Arsenal hadn't been playing, so there wasn't much to cover on that front, and in general boxing, has been a little bit dry for the last few weeks, but it's all good. Here we are, Canelo versus Crawford, and we're back for the international break, so super excited to be back on the channel. And as always, I'm just going to give you guys my thoughts on how I think the fight's going to go, who I think is going to win, and just my general thoughts heading into Saturday night. So pretty much let's just go on and get straight into this. So first of all, starting with Canelo's record. So Canelo is currently 63-2-2 with 39 knockouts. So he's got 67 professional fights, 39 KOs. Obviously an absolutely generational talent, one of the best fighters of all time. Actually started professional boxing at 15, which is still a fact that just absolutely blows my mind to think that this guy was only 15 years of age when he laced up a pair of professional gloves for the first time. Truly incredible. He's been a pro for almost 2 decades now, and of course many accolades, many world championships. Of course has been undisputed, and of course is currently the undisputed super middleweight world champion. Became undisputed a few years ago, although obviously was stripped of the IBF for a little while. Eventually did fight as mandatory, so he regained the IBF and is now undisputed yet again. So obviously he is the undisputed super middleweight world champion. He's won many different world titles across various weight classes, and of course is one of the best fighters of all time. Definitely one of the greatest Mexican fighters of all time, and truly just an icon of the sport. So that's Canelo Alvarez. And then of course Terence Crawford, very successful career as well, undisputed in 2 different weight classes, and looking to make it a 3rd on Saturday night, which actually would break a record. He would become the first ever boxer in the 4-belt era to unify across 3 divisions. It's never been done in the 4-belt era to become undisputed in 3 divisions. So Terence Crawford looks to make history there. So obviously would be an absolutely massive achievement, and obviously that's huge for him. In terms of his record, he's 41-0, obviously very experienced as well, has been a pro for well over a decade now, 31 knockouts across 41 fights, never been defeated professionally of course, and also has a very stacked resume. So the truth is, these are just 2 extremely skilled fighters with fantastic resumes, putting it all on the line. Canelo of course putting the undisputed super middleweight world championship, and Crawford putting his undefeated record all on the line. It's for all the marbles, and it's an absolutely huge fight. So in terms of my prediction, I have gone with Canelo to win by points. Now, I do want to be clear, as you can expect, this was a really tough prediction. It took me a long time to come up with my prediction for this fight. Obviously, this is such a close fight. I mean, you ever want to talk about a 50-50 fight, this is definitely it. Like, this is about as close as it gets to being 50-50, and it was really tough to choose a winner, but of course, for prediction videos, I've got to. So in the end, I went with Canelo Alvarez by points, and I've got various reasons which I will get into, but I do want to be clear, everything I'm going to say is that this is a very close fight. These are 2 extremely talented fighters, so ultimately this could go either way, and end of the day I'm just giving my prediction. Obviously I would love to hear your guys' predictions down below, so please do comment them if you haven't already. Please comment down whether you think Canelo's going to win, Crawford's going to win. Do you agree with me that it will be by points, or do you believe that it will be a knockout? And please just do let me know. I want to hear your guys' predictions, so please down below put who you think's going to win and how. And yeah, let's go on and get into it. So as mentioned before, my prediction is that Canelo Alvarez to win by points. So the first key reason is, well, I mean, before I say why I think so, the reason why I think this is going to be by points is simply because I just can't see a knockout. Honestly, I just can't. Like, these are 2 extremely skilled, extremely technical, fluid fighters that ultimately are so evenly matched. I just cannot see a knockout happening in this fight. Obviously Canelo does have the weight advantage, so you could argue that if there was to be a knockout, it'd be leaned more towards his favor, but in my personal opinion, I just think these are 2 such talented fighters. They've got great chins, they've got great durability. I just can't see either of them knocking each other out. In my opinion, this will be technical. It'll be a bit of a chess match, may potentially devolve into a brawl at times, but for the most part I think this will just be technical. It'll be a chess match, and ultimately will be between between two high level elite world class boxers. So that's why I personally think it'll be points. I just can't see this fight being a knockout. I just think these two have worked, these two have obviously worked so hard. They're so experienced, have fought so many times. I just cannot see them knocking each other out. In my opinion, this goes the full 12 rounds. But anyway, let's go on and get into specifically why I think Canelo is going to win. So the first big reason why I think Canelo will win this fight is due to his size advantage. So as mentioned before, this fight is in the super middleweight division, and that is actually 2 weight classes above what Terence Crawford normally fights. So Terence Crawford is moving 2 weight classes up to fight in this division, whereas of course Canelo, while he also moves up to super middleweight, he's definitely over the years become a lot more accustomed to the weight. So yeah, technically Canelo's having to do a bit of bulking to get to super middleweight as well, but Canelo is a lot more accustomed to the weight. He's of course fought in this weight class quite a few times, and in my opinion, there's a genuine case to be made that super middleweight is Canelo's best weight. Obviously, some are going to disagree with that, but I personally think there's a genuine case to be made that Canelo's best weight class is super middleweight. So the first big reason why I think Canelo will win this fight is because of his size advantage. Now, obviously, Canelo, as I said before, very, very comfortable at super middleweight, and we've seen plenty of times that Canelo is very good at putting on pressure and sort of using his size to his advantage. We've seen it plenty of times. He's also good at walking through shots as a result of that. So I think the first big reason why he'll be able to defeat Crawford is because I think, in my opinion, he'll be able to use his size to kind of walk Crawford down, kind of bring him into brawls, make him make mistakes, and most importantly, just put pressure on and really disrupt his rhythm. We know that Crawford is a fighter who really likes to kind of ease his way into the fight, get into a rhythm, and really just kind of, go through the fight, go through the motions, get into a rhythm, and really, really just start to pick his opponent apart. But in my opinion, with Canelo's size, he's going to be able to really walk Crawford down, put some serious pressure on him, maybe even back him into corners at points. And don't get me wrong, Crawford is super elusive, very fast, so of course he will be able to escape these situations with relative ease. But at the same time, I do think it will happen often enough to where Canelo's really going to start to disrupt that rhythm, and that's probably going to be one of Canelo's big goals in that fight, is to use his size, walk Crawford down, put the pressure on, and really, really try and get him out of that very, very good boxing rhythm that he gets into, and maybe, occasionally turn it into a brawl. Of course, these are two very technical, sound fighters. However, I do think in terms of the brawling element of boxing, Canelo definitely has the advantage over Crawford, in my opinion. I think as much as Canelo is obviously very, very technical, very skilled, very gifted, just like Crawford, Canelo also has the thing where he is able to walk opponents down, fight on the inside, make it a brawl, make it a bit scrappy, and I think that's definitely where Canelo's going to have some success in this fight. Of course, we know that Canelo does have that raw dog in him, obviously that like Mexican style, loads of heart, loads of resilience, and that's something that Canelo is really going to be able to make use of to kind of disrupt Crawford's rhythm, really, really just put pressure on him. And I think that's the key thing with the size. Not only do I think he's going to put loads of pressure on Crawford and really make this a tough fight for him, but also I think he's going to be able to walk him down. And most importantly, I think the size is going to help Canelo to get through Crawford's hardest shots, because as much as Crawford is moving up, don't get me wrong, he still punches hard at super middleweight. He's still fast. Like, he's definitely still going to be tough, but I just think Canelo's size really will help him to kind of take those shots, walk through them, and ultimately walk Crawford down, put pressure on, disrupt the rhythm, and really, really just get things going. So that's the first big reason why I think Canelo will win this fight, is simply because he's going to be able to use his size to walk Crawford down, take rounds from him, and I just think Canelo's definitely going to win a good amount of rounds in this fight through activity. I can see Canelo being very aggressive, really, really putting on pressure, and we've seen plenty of times at super middleweight, Canelo knows how to walk opponents down. I mean, one of the best examples I can think of is the fight against Callum Smith. In fact, both Smith brothers, Liam and Callum, if you think to his fights in both of those, one of the main things he did well was walk them down, and that's despite them being much, much bigger than him. I mean, they were both massive compared to him, and in spite of that, Canelo just walked them down, kept hammering away, and ultimately just were able to, obviously in both of those fights, he was able, in one of them he got a stoppage, which was the Liam Smith fight, and then he got the decision in the Callum Smith fight. But the idea is he was really able to walk those opponents down and make it a tough night, and that's what I think Canelo's going to do using his size. So he's going to be able to walk Crawford down, put pressure on, back him into corners, and disrupt that rhythm. And also, whenever he wants to, he may be able to turn it into a bit of a brawl as well. Don't get me wrong, he won't be able to do that easily. Like, as I do want to be clear, I'm not saying that Crawford's going to get dominated or destroyed or anything like that. Like, no, don't get me wrong. But I do think it will happen often enough to where he's being walked down and where he's having loads of pressure put on him that he's going to lose some rounds, and he's probably going to give away some rounds to Canelo as a result of that. But I do want you guys to understand me. Crawford is a very highly technical and gifted fighter who I think is going to be able to use his movement, use his speed, get out of those situations, and also counter-punching. That's something Canelo's going to have to look out for in this fight. Crawford is a very, very skilled, very good counter-puncher, probably one of the best in boxing in terms of timing, rhythm, and counter-punching. He's absolutely fantastic, one of the best in the world at that, and that's something that Canelo's going to have to be very careful with, because while Canelo is putting on that pressure and using his size, Crawford, of course, will be reading him, will be reading his tempo, and will be implementing the counter-punches, will be implementing the timing, and ultimately he's going to be able to come back with a fast combination. And, there's going to be times in those exchanges where Canelo maybe throws one, and then Crawford immediately throws 3 or 4 fast shots, and then immediately gets out of dodge. So that's something that Canelo's definitely going to have to be, he's going to have to look out for when he puts the pressure on. But I do think that Canelo will be able to kind of walk Crawford down at points, put pressure on him, make it aggressive, and ultimately take those rounds from him, and also frustrate Crawford into potentially making reckless mistakes. So that's the first reason. And then another reason is simply Canelo is just extremely experienced. Obviously, as mentioned before, Canelo has been fighting since 15 years old. He's got 67 professional fights with 39 knockouts. So obviously he's been there and done it so many times. Like, it's just hard to root against somebody who's got this much experience, and as much as it sounds like, I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, isn't Canelo actually younger than Crawford? Am I wrong about that? I think, I'm just going to quickly check, guys. Sorry. I'm going to quickly check who's actually older, but I'm pretty sure Canelo is actually younger than Crawford, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to just check this now. Canelo, yes, let me just check this. So Canelo Alvarez, just going to look him up now. So Canelo Alvarez is 35, and then how old is Crawford? Actually, I think I might be wrong. Terence Crawford, 37. Yeah, there you go. So Canelo is actually 2 years younger, but in spite of that, he's had way more fights. I mean, he's had literally 67 fights compared to Crawford's 41. That's 26 more fights, and also with 8 more knockouts. He's also been fighting as a pro for longer, from 15 years old. So obviously he's got about a decade more experience. He's got 26 fights worth more of experience. He's got 8 more knockouts. He's been in more world title fights. It's just really, really hard to back against someone that has this much experience. And don't get me wrong, Crawford is definitely a veteran in this game as well. He's been going for well over a decade, obviously very, very experienced himself, but I just think Canelo, he's been fighting since he was a 15-year-old in 2005. He's been in so many world title fights, and ultimately whatever Crawford throws at him, in my opinion, Canelo will be able to counter it. If Crawford wants to make this more tactical and a chess match, I think Canelo will be able to match him. If Crawford maybe himself tries to make this a bit more of a brawl, Canelo will match him. If whether he fights slow, fights fast, in my opinion, Canelo Alvarez will be able to find a way regardless of what Crawford does. And even if Crawford makes it extremely tough, in my opinion, Canelo just has that experience. He's been there and done it so many times that he'll be able to find a way around it. So that's definitely a big thing that you have to consider in these massive, massive fights, is ultimately the experience. And Canelo just has far more of it, and ultimately he will be able to make use of that. And yeah. So those are kind of the two key reasons. Obviously, just the kind of more general reasons. Obviously, Canelo, very fast, very aggressive. But the two key reasons, I believe, is because Canelo is obviously the bigger fighter. He is 2 weight classes above. And in my opinion, that will make a massive difference. And 2 is, of course, the experience level. He's much more experienced. And I just think those two things will allow him to kind of just get a decision. As mentioned before, I don't think this will be a knockout. In my opinion, these fighters are far too talented for this to go to a decision. For this not to go to a decision. In my opinion, these fighters have worked far too hard and are just far too talented to allow this to go to a knockout. Obviously, if it does go to a knockout, then great for the fans, because obviously the fans love knockouts. But at the same time, I wouldn't mind just seeing 12 rounds of high-level championship boxing. I honestly wouldn't mind either way. But in my personal opinion, this will go to a decision, simply because these are 2 very, very experienced fighters who are putting it all on the line. So, it's going to be very, very hotly contested, very, very difficult. But all in all, I do believe that Canelo Alvarez, using his size, his experience, he'll be able to, so using his size and experience, he'll be able to walk Crawford down, back him into corners, put pressure on, turn it into a brawl, disrupt his rhythm, and ultimately outbox him across 12 rounds. It's going to be a very tough fight. It's going to be a difficult, a very tough, very hotly contested decision. It's going to be a hard-fought decision for Canelo, but I do believe that Canelo will do enough using everything I've just mentioned to beat Crawford by points. So yeah, that's pretty much going to go on and do it in terms of the analysis. So those are the key things, but don't get me wrong, as said before, Crawford, very, very great fighter. He's got a lot, obviously, that he can use in this fight. His counter-punching, his speed, obviously, as much as Canelo is still fast at super middleweight, don't get me wrong, Crawford is absolutely going to be faster. There's no question about that. Crawford is going to have the speed advantage. He is obviously much lighter, and he is coming up 2 weight classes, so obviously he's going to have the speed advantage. So that's something he can make use of. Crawford, obviously, as mentioned before, is absolutely phenomenal at counter-punching, timing, rhythm, and I think that's going to be very, very important in this fight against Canelo. Not only that, his movement, he's very slick, got great movement, really able to get out of corners, really able to pivot. And another thing I mentioned, but I forgot forgot to mention is that Crawford is a very good switch hitter as well. Crawford is such a good switch hitter, one of the best in the game. So I have no doubt he'll be switching southpaw to orthodox, and he does it absolutely seamlessly. He's one of the best in the division in terms of switching southpaw and orthodox just kind of on a whim, on a fly. He can do both with no issues. So yeah, super exciting fight. I cannot wait for it. Very, very close. As much as I said Canelo's going to win, it is extremely close, and I do recognize that this could go either way. But ultimately, it'd be a really boring prediction video if I just went, oh, you know what? I'm just going to say either one could win. That'd be a very boring prediction video. So I had to think of someone. So in the end, I went for Canelo Alvarez, but I really do want to hear your guys' predictions. So please let me know down below who do you think is going to win and why. But those are the key advantages. Canelo, obviously the size and the experience. Crawford, the speed, the weight, obviously the weight as in he's obviously lighter, obviously combinations, counter punching, technical boxing, etc. So both men have their strengths and their weaknesses and their advantages and their disadvantages. So for that reason, it's just going to be an extremely exciting fight. One thing I haven't even mentioned yet is that somehow this fight is on Netflix. I mean, that seriously blows my mind. That's something that absolutely blows my mind. The fact that this is not a pay-per-view and is literally on Netflix is absolutely absurd. Like, that never happens in boxing. Like, seriously, I mean, this fight is literally being promoted by Dana White of Zuffa Promotions. I mean, oh my god, like, what is happening? Like, this fight is literally being promoted by Dana White and Zuffa Promotions. So it's truly unique. It truly lives up to that headline of once in a lifetime, because when have we ever seen such a massive fight be on Netflix, not even on pay-per-view, not to mention being promoted by Dana White and Zuffa Promotions. So I'm just really hoping that whatever happens, we get a very, very good night of championship boxing, and most importantly, I just really hope that the fight lives up to its hype. Obviously, fights like this have happened before and they haven't lived up, but I'm just really hoping that this one, with the quality we've got here, Canelo and Crawford, we just get an absolutely fantastic fight, whether it be a knockout or 12 rounds of championship boxing. I just want a really good, fair result, a brilliant fight, and just a great night for the fans. But anyway, that's going to go and do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for listening. Please let me know down below who you think is going to win the Canelo Crawford fight and how, and I'll catch you guys at another podcast soon. Bye bye.